there, everyone. So we just finished making this strong 5-step value scale and then blending it into an ombre or a gradient. And we are now going to use the leftover paint to, oops, I got weight in my lid, to do this little mark making study. And then we're going to do a sphere study in a second. So if you want to try to render forms, you can. Okay, so there's no right way to do this. You can work it any way that makes sense for you. And I have some little prompts here, but if you want to try some different stuff, you can. This one says a layered wash. So I'm going to go back to using this flat brush. And I'm going to flood the surface. So this is like pretty puddly, if you will. And I'm using it almost more like a watercolor. It does kind of break down the acrylic, so it's not quite watercolor, but I've really flooded it like a little pool. And I'm gonna grab a little black, and you can see what happens. You see that kind of like blending and doing some weird stuff. You can just keep playing with them. The key here with any of these little studies or any of your paintings is you really want to try and hang on to that 0, 30, 50, 70, 100. If you don't, it's going to sit somewhere in this middle scale of 50 and get real muddy. So I'm just going to layer in thicker, some solid black at the bottom, and you can see that water like kind of pulling and dragging that around and kind of rolling the brush and so forth. Again, there's no wrong way to do this. It's just to kind of be creative and be present with the paint and see how it functions. I'm going to pivot to using some white. I'm using quite a bit. And I'm going to stop. Because if I keep working it, it's going to turn into a big mushy gray mess. Okay, so the next one, we're going to do a little impasto study. I'm going to tape the edges of this one just so you can again see how having that stronger edge gives it more of a sense of resolve. An impasto means chunky, so like a Van Gogh painting. The key to making an impasto painting, though, is that it's not just thick paint, it's also that it's great value shifts. So I'm going to take black and I'm going to paint with my knife. So I've got quite a bit. What would that be? If it was a melted Hershey's Kiss? No, chocolate chip, sorry. And I'm going to just scoop it on there real thick. And it is super thick, but you can't really tell because it's all really one value. So the trick here, that one's still running, is to pivot values. So I'm going to clean off my knife so that I don't contaminate. I'm going to go to my 30. And I'm kind of doing fun things with it just to see how it'll unfold. Clean my knife and I'll grab some white. So that would be impasto. You can try some of your different brushes. I'm gonna grab a little flat, get it wet just to charge it. I'll grab some more white, more than that. And I can do little details. Picked up some of that black to move it up to the top. So you can do some really fun things with all your different tools. You can use non-traditional tools. You can use the end of the brush and try different things. It got muddy up there, so I'm gonna just delete that with white. Oh, it's still muddy. The key is not to overwork. So I'm going to peel this off, peel at an angle. And again, you can see how kind of cool it looks when you have that harsher painted edge. This tape that we have is technically the kind of tape you would use to paint a house, to cut a straight line. They make art tape, but it's super expensive, and it actually doesn't work quite as well. But look how great that looks when it's got that crisp edge. Okay, the next one says scumbling. So what that means is it's where you kind of like the paint together. I'm gonna try my filbert, the rounded one, just to see how it does. I'm gonna wet it a little bit. I'm gonna start with my 30. I'll do a black at the top. Often we'll have students ask, why don't we just mix on the surface instead of all of this? Well, you can like this, but it tends to get real muddy real fast. So you have to be kind of careful. Rinse that out and use some more white. Here's our tinting strength problem with our white. I'm almost out of my big Hershey Kiss. So the scumbling is where you're like kind of squishing it together. We had done this on the ombre, but I'm going to do it again. I'm going to use a dry brush. So this is another flat. And that's really when the scumbling is happening, where I'm like squishing it together. Really being present in what the viscosity of the paint feels like. And just keep playing with them. Okay, I don't like that, so I'm going to add a little dark. There we go. So the last one, it just says cross hatching. You can do really anything you want here. Here would be a good time to look at other paintings and magazines or art history books or online, Pinterest boards, Instagram, and see if you can find a mark that you like and then try to mimic it. So I'll go with the cross hatching though, and I'm gonna start with my black. And the idea here is that you're kind of using all the things you might in a drawing class and seeing how it'll unfold. So it's really a dry brush. There's no water in there, and you can see where it kind of scumbles on the surface. I'm going to pivot to my 30. Go the other direction. Not a white, so I'm going to do a little more white. And hopefully by now you're seeing how far the paint will go from creating just this amount of space to this. This Basics liquid text that I'm using is pretty cheap, so it kind of doesn't have a great tinting strength and gets used up pretty quickly. That's why people spend more money on better paint. But since we're just doing exercises, it'll work. So just try some different things, see what happens if you kind of scumble on top with a cross-hatching mark. You can see what happens if maybe you do like a stipple mark. And try some different kind of techniques. Okay, I do want to show you one more thing on this video. Dropped my pictures earlier, I'll find them. I wanted to show you with your Poscas and some other materials how you can draw over the dry work. So these were done yesterday, and you can see what happens if you use your acrylic pens, your Sharpies, maybe some of your Faber-Castells. So I'll start with this. So this is a bold one, and you can see that I can go in and work back over these surfaces with a drawing tool to add a different level of complexity to this work. We're going to build out this sphere in just a second. I'm going to show you how that can work too. So you've got this different kind of mark making. Here's a white gel pen. You can make these different kinds of marks, creating a kind of layering effect. I don't know if you can see that. And then this is the next surface we're going to work on in just a minute, but this is where you can see how you can rework things. So here I'm going to use my Posca. I don't think my Posca's charged yet. You shake your Poscas because it has acrylic paint inside of it. And right now the tip is white, comes out, but you'll leave it in there. And then to charge it, you depress the button like so, and then the acrylic starts to come out. So I'm going to trace my sphere. It's a little offset, but it gives it more resolve. So you can see where the painting got kind of out of whack. But you can then do little detail works to make things look like they were intentional. I'm changing the scale. And then you could keep coloring and drawing and making it graphic on top of it. Same with the white. You could use colored Poscas, gel pens, your other markers, and so forth. Okay, so we're going to get together in another video and we're going to try to paint a form on this document. Okay, I'll see you in a second.